speaking of the top, we're going to go from one subject to another because we haven't talked to you since this happened. What are your thoughts on Vince McMahon stepping down as chairman and CEO of WWE?
Yeah, huge, right? I mean, a tectonic shift in our industry. For my entirety in the business, Vince McMahon has been a major cog of that. Uh, and those of us that know him and have worked for him knows that there was no way that he would just say, okay, it's time to retire and go off to the beach and have a Mai Tai or a margarita. The way that it happened, the ignominious way that it happened, I think is, puts a really bad mark on what he had done in the industry. He had taken it to heights that none of us could have ever imagined. But if you remember, we first talked about this privately, like just sitting around BSing. And we said that, if there was one of these payments, there's going to be more. And, the fact that I think they've done an amazing job at keeping it from spiraling out of control because, those of us, again, that have worked there know that there was a lot of stuff going on. But that they sort of narrowed that down. And I think that Vince's resignation is what allowed that to happen. If he hadn't retired, if he hadn't moved on, I think a lot more magnifying glasses would have been put on there. I'm just curious as to how retired, quotation marks around it, he really is. But, the fact that you can see new blood in there stirring it up, and you mentioned it a minute ago, Franny, about the ratings increase. That tells me that the fan base is still solid. But it's also alarming that the fan base has chosen, by and large, to stay away from the industry for how long? Got to get it back to what it's supposed to be. And if you do that, if you build it, they'll come. And I think WWE is proving that right now. I'm not going to give final judgment yet, but so far so good. Let's see if they keep moving in the right direction.
Will you miss him, Shane?
It renowned my experiences with Vince, right? Look, we're two different people, not going to ever get along, probably never going to agree on approach to the business. That said, he's, achieved amazing heights with what he's done. Right. And you can't, ultimately, the bottom line, the final analysis, you have to judge based off the body of work. And, he's again, taken wrestling from the smoke-filled arenas to mainstream. And, back 30, 40 years ago, that would have been unheard of. You couldn't even imagine. As I was a kid in the Pittsburgh Civic Arena watching Benoit and Dominic and all of those guys, you couldn't imagine that kind of a future for wrestling. And, he's responsible for that. But he's also responsible for, like, where we've seen the industry, and its collapses with, all the territories and how many people employed and how many fans have left. There's always the yin and yang, right? You can't give the glory without giving the final epitaph. And he's responsible for that too. So I think any fair analysis of Vince's history in the business will be a compendium. Incredible and some bad as well. So just wait and see it. To me, there's always another chapter with Vince, so I'm just waiting to see what that is.
Turn the page. Do you feel like Chris Benoit, for example, totally different, different thing, but he was erased from the company. If this was anybody other than Vince McMahon, is this severe enough to be exiled and never spoke of again the way he manipulated these women? Or is this a pass because, I know it's Vince, but if it was somebody else, do you think they would have been forgotten about?
Oh, they would have been pushed out the door. Like, again, I like Chris, right? It's
and I'm not comparing it to murdering
right.
family or anything like that. But I'm just saying this is a heavy accusation.
Yes, and, serious, very serious. And again, how that plays out. Again, I think we're witnessing in the world right now. There's very enunciated two-tiered system, right? Like somebody at the top of the heap can do something that somebody down that ladder probably can't. But to me, I take this stuff, that these accusations and allegations very seriously. If somebody in a position of power like Harvey Weinstein uses that to do something illegal against a woman or anybody, I think that should be called out. But the hush money, it's again how they've sort of, that's pushed out the window, right? Like now that Vince retired, like nobody's talking about it. And I hope for the women that they get the justice that they're due. But you know, again, full disclosure, I am 1,000,000% against the cancellation. You know, getting canceled because you've, you know, stepped on somebody's toes and angered somebody. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. I'll make a lot more. Other people have. You know, but I think, again, it's the yin and yang. If you're going to sit there and talk about this and say, like, I don't believe in canceling somebody, but somebody that does this kind of stuff must be held accountable to it. You know, and what is accountability? Is it leaving your own company at mid-70s and a bank full of money, or is there some other comeuppance to that? You know, it's I think everybody should be treated equally and get treated the exact same when they do something that heinous.
I agree 100%.